Welcome to my podcast story. What this show is all about. Okay, deep breaths. We're really doing this. Welcome to the very first episode of my podcast story, the show where we'll pull back the curtain on podcasting and discover the real stories behind the voices you love. I am Wisdom Okonkwo, and if you are hearing this, congrats. We both survived the technical setup. Now you might be thinking, do we really need another podcast about podcasting? Fair question. But here's the thing, while everyone's focused on download numbers and equipment specs, I became obsessed with the human stories behind the shows. Like the time I met a podcast who started a show after getting laid off. Why trapped? No. Okay, each week we'll sit down with amazing creators to hear their origin stories, not the polish, how I made it versions, but the real messy journeys, the failed launches, the accidental viral episodes, the time someone recorded an entire season before realizing their mic was muted. That last one might have been me. Okay, yeah, should talk. Speaking of origin stories, here's mine. I started this podcast after a long time of being afraid, of being scared, of wondering what to do next, of being overwhelmed of the endless possibility of success I could get if I did the work. I think I'll leave my origin story for another day because this podcast is going to be really long. But I'm that guy who, I know this stuff works, but over time again, I've not been consistent, I've not been showing up, and yeah, maybe we're inspired by another show. The more podcasters I talk to, right? I started a podcast where I started interview podcasts using a platform called Podmatch, and the more podcasters I talk to, the more I realized our struggles connect us way more than our success ever could. Like that universal moment when you hear your own voice playback and think, do I really sound like that? We'll feature anyone from brand new creators to veterans with millions of downloads. Not because numbers matter, but because everyone's got an incredible story. Like the teacher who podcasts from her closet, or the CEO who records in his car for better acoustics. Pro tip, if a guest says they've never made a mistake, they're lying. Now, here's how you can help this brand new show. Hit subscribe so you don't miss our first guest episode next week. We've got someone amazing lined up who wants, I'm not going to say the story. I don't have a guest lined up, but I know there will be a guest next week. I know that. I don't know how it will be, but I know that there will be a guest next week. So I cannot say what the story of the guest will be, but I know it's going to be an interesting story. Now, leave a rating if you are feeling generous and slide into my DMs with your wildest podcasting story. I might just feature it. Now, thanks for joining me on this very first episode. Remember, every great podcast started exactly where we are right now. Equal parts excited and terrified. I'm Wisdom Okonkwo, and this is my podcast story, where the real magic happens between the record button and the please don't let me sound like an idiot prayer. See you next time.